In a world of pseudoscience, people that believe everything they read on the internet, and Scientologists, this is no bullshit.
Hi, YouTube. Today I want to talk about All Lives Matter and why it is complete and utter bullshit. And I know what some of you were thinking. Wait a minute, how can all lives matter be bullshit? Isn't that what we're striving for in this society, to have all lives matter equally? If you're any kind of a moral, decent person, don't you want all lives to matter? Yes, absolutely 100% true. I'm not talking about actually valuing all lives equally, which you should, and which I strive to do every day. What I'm talking about is the All Lives Matter movement. Now, this has been discussed in many different places online and in news outlets, but I think there are a couple aspects of this that haven't been fully explored yet, and I want to touch on those. But first, let's set this up. What is the All Lives Matter movement? Well, first off, the All Lives Matter movement, it's a reactionary movement. And I'm not even sure if we can call it a movement. It's more of a trending topic. All Lives Matter started a couple years ago in reaction to Black Lives Matter. And this is where we start to get into the bullshit. All Lives Matter purports to say that all lives are equal and that we shouldn't separate based on race or gender or sexual orientation or gender identity or any other demographic. And we should all just get along and be happy and everyone is equal. And from an idealistic standpoint, yes, absolutely. That is the goal. That is where we're trying to get to. But we're not there yet, which is the point. That's why Black Lives Matter started. Black Lives Matter began as a direct result of the acquittal of George Zimmerman in his murder trial for killing Trayvon Martin. And the bias in that trial, in the investigation, in the media coverage, was so overwhelmingly obvious, clear, and blatant that people got righteously pissed off, and they should have. And they were absolutely deserving to do so. It was a disgusting spectacle. And Black Lives Matter came out to say, look, we're not being treated equally. Our lives are in danger. More from law enforcement, from crime, from poverty, from lack of health care. And these are all backed up by statistics, by actual data. Quickly, here are three rather sobering charts originally published by U.S. News and World Report in January of 2015. The first one is the overall life expectancy for the last 40 years, and you can see very clearly that a member of the African American community is going to die 5 to 7 years earlier, statistically speaking, than a member of the white community or even on the national average. The reasons for this are incredibly complex and weave their way throughout all of society, but the overarching description would be that African Americans live on a lower rung of the socioeconomic hierarchy than white people do, and their access to health care, their access to safety, their access to resources is far more limited than those of the white community are. Second chart, no usual source of health care among children. Any parent knows how important health care is to their child, how important it is for them to grow up and reach their full potential, and even to reach adulthood. Another statistic in the same article, with the link for which is provided in the description, is on the infant mortality rates of the white and black communities. The black community has over twice the infant mortality that the white community does. White babies die at 5.2 per 1,000, whereas black babies die at the rate of 11.5 per 1,000. And that should shock you. And the last chart, which is probably what we all initially think of when we hear the term Black Lives Matter, which is firearms-related deaths. And of course, as you can clearly see here, young black people under the age of 34 are far more likely to die at the hands of someone wielding a firearm than a member of the white community. The black community has a lower life expectancy. They have a higher rate of poverty and disease. They are victims of crime more often. And that's a very, very deep subject that we don't have time to get into today. But the point is, these are the things that the Black Lives Matter movement sought to address. And then there was this reactionary kickback some months later, once Black Lives Matter started to get some traction in the national media. Someone, and I don't know where it started, if it started with some well-meaning, clueless fuckwit who was, sniffing incense and glue, going, no, man, all lives matter. It's just a beautiful thing, and we're all here, and it's... Or if it was some racist Cletus in a pickup truck down in the Alabama swamps going, no, goddammit, all lives matter. You can't let these black people try and say that they're more important than us. Which is, of course, not what anyone is saying. First of all lives matter is bullshit because it came out in a reaction to Black Lives Matter. Why does that make it bullshit? Because where the fuck was all lives matter prior to 2013? Where was it when people were being oppressed and killed and marginalized before that? Where was this universal concern for all lives mattering? I never heard about it. No one was getting up in arms about all lives mattering. So another reason all lives matter is bullshit is that it is trying to silence Black Lives Matter. It's trying to say that Black Lives Matter is divisive and antagonistic and even elitist in trying to make Black lives more important than other lives, which it absolutely is not. And you have either completely missed the point or you are trying desperately to protect your own position of privilege, if you believe that. To say that all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter is to minimize the experience of those who are being hurt and who are being marginalized and who are being kept in this lower class of our socioeconomic hierarchy. Now, I am clearly not a black person. I have never experienced the things that have been documented so well online and in people I've spoken to personally. I've never been pulled over for driving a car through a neighborhood where it maybe looked like I didn't belong based on the color of my skin. I've never been followed through a store because by virtue of my ethnicity, someone just assumed I was going to steal something. I've never felt in danger for my life when I've been pulled over for a routine traffic stop. I've never been denied a job or an apartment or had to jump through hoops or been spoken to condescendingly or had someone assume that I wasn't intelligent as anyone else just because of the way I looked. But at the very least, I can understand that much. I can understand that I don't know, that I haven't experienced that. So really, I shouldn't even comment on that experience. I should just accept what these people are telling me, what my friends tell me, what I hear online about people who are suffering these indignities. To minimize them and say all lives matter is not only insulting, it's arrogant and it's ignorant. And another aspect of this is that all lives matter is a statement of fear. It's fear from the privileged who are seeing another movement that is attempting to oust them from their place at the top of the social hierarchy. Now that sounds a little conspiracy theory, but I don't know that it's even a conscious response in many persons' cases. They see Black Lives Matter and they feel threatened. And let's be honest, most of the people using all lives matter, they're white people. They're white, privileged, probably doing okay economically, and somewhere deep in their brain, somewhere deep in their subconscious, that they may not even be fully aware of it, they feel threatened by the Black Lives Matter movement. They feel like people are going to be marching through the streets with torches and pitchforks to come throw them out of their houses, and which is, of course, not the case. But as has been shown many times in history, the privileged class will always defend its position, even if it has to do morally reprehensible things to do so. We've seen it play out in race relations in this country for the last century and more, since the abolition of slavery in 1865. This has been a constant recurring of pretty much the same conversation. The words have changed, the arguments have changed a little bit, but the underlying psychology has remained precisely the same. This is the class at the top trying to maintain the status quo, and it's the class at the bottom demanding equality for themselves and their humanity. And the real end conclusion in all of this is that, yes, all lives matter is blatantly, without question, racist. Why is it racist? Because you're saying to the people who are involved in the Black Lives Matter movement, you are saying to the people who believe in the Black Lives Matter movement, no, that's not worthwhile. We don't want to believe in that. We don't accept your struggle as valid. We want you to keep your place in society where you are. We want you to take all the shit that we give you and shut your mouths about it and be happy that you're getting this much. No, fuck that shit. That is absolutely despicable and wrong. So All Lives Matter is clearly racist. But in the interest of intellectual honesty, this is where we have to discuss the people who are promoting All Lives Matter. Is everyone who promotes All Lives Matter a racist? Are they sheet-wearing, cross-burning rednecks driving around in pickup trucks, whooping and hollering and shooting guns off into the sky, hoping to lynch a black man? No, of course not. A lot of these people are just ignorant. They're well-meaning, well-intentioned, but they're not the brightest bulbs in the chandelier. And they haven't thought through the meaning of this. They look at All Lives Matter and say, oh, pretty. I like that. Isn't that sweet? Let's do that. Without looking at what it actually implies and what it actually says to other things out there like the Black Lives Matter movement. So here's this chick right here. Let's listen to her for a second.
No, I'm just going to use my platform to say how I feel. At the end of the day, all lives matter regardless of color, religion, sexual preference, sexual orientation, sexual changes, transgender, no gender, two genders. Why the fuck does it have to always be an issue? I don't get it.
Now, this utterly dim bulb is named Mariah McLean, and I have no idea who she is. I found her on a YouTube search looking for examples of All Lives Matter, and she seemed typical, just very, very typical. Is she a racist? I don't think so. Nothing in her commentary indicates any antagonism towards Black Lives Matter. In fact, her words are very clearly promoting the idea that we are all human beings and that we should all respect and love each other equally as human beings, which I totally agree with. That's where we need to get to. But the problem with people like her is that she's not very smart at all. And she has failed to consider that what she's doing, as we've already discussed, is telling the people who are suffering on a daily basis that their suffering doesn't matter. Because until we get to a point in society where black people and Latino people and Asian people and transgendered people and gay people, any demographic, any group, any religion, they're all treated the same, until that day comes about, All Lives Matter is ignoring their struggles. Whatever demographic is being treated differently than another demographic for arbitrary reasons, All Lives Matter is telling them, look, man, we're not even going to recognize the fact that you're being treated differently. We're not going to recognize that you're suffering and that you don't have the same access to the society that we do. And that is why this is complete bullshit. I think it's important for us to look at people like Miss McLean and realize She's not a bad person. She's not a racist. She is dumb as a box of rocks. And because of her ignorance, what she's promoting is actually harmful. She's trying to be a good person. I give her that respect. She's trying to be a good person. She's trying to do and say what she thinks is the right thing. But in reality, what she's saying and what she's doing, if that were to be adopted as the new paradigm, this would actually maintain the status quo of economic, social, and legal oppression that communities of color are experiencing today, every day, and will unfortunately probably continue to experience for some time in this country. So not only is all lives matter bullshit, calling everyone who says all lives matter a racist and hating them and calling them divisive, that's also bullshit. What really needs to happen is we need to start a conversation with the Mariah McLeans of this world. We need to show them that we respect and appreciate their kindness and their humanity and their desire to have everyone be free and happy and love each other. That's a wonderful thing. But we need to get them to understand that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. You know, I actually chose Mariah McLean's video for a particular reason. She's an attractive woman, and she has a lot of tattoos and piercings. And I'm sure she's experienced some pushback from that in society. Some places probably won't hire her because of her choices in her look. She is probably treated differently than she would be treated were she not so heavily tattooed and pierced. And maybe part of that is fueling her desire for all people to get along. And that's a good thing. And that's an interesting insight, perhaps, that she's had. And please understand, this is all speculation on my part. But the real difference is that she made those choices. Those were choices. She didn't have to get tattooed. She didn't have to get pierced. Those were expressions of herself that she consciously chose. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that either. But I do think it's a different thing to be treated differently for a choice you've made than it is to be treated differently for something you simply are, such as gay or black or Latino or transgender. So the next time we see someone posting about all lives matter, don't jump to the conclusion that they're a dumb racist. Don't jump to the conclusion that they're an elitist white prick trying to maintain the status quo. They may be a very decent, loving person. And they may just want everyone to get along. And they may just want everyone to live peaceably together and love one another. And love them for that. Respect them for that. That's a good thing. But have this conversation with them. Explain to them why all lives matter is not a good thing to say right now, because we haven't arrived at that point. We've got a long way to go before all lives do matter. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it very much, and I will see you next time when I figure out what the hell I'm going to talk about next.